Hello, everybody. So today I want to talk about three semiconductor small cap hyper growth companies. These are companies, at least for the first two, that I've never covered on the channel. And these three companies actually all came in the comments section, even Indie, although Indie, that was a while back that it came up in the comments section. But those three companies are kind of viewer requests. And I must say, perhaps the one that I find the most interesting today that I'm going to cover, and by the way, I own none of these stocks, but perhaps the most interesting one is Navitas that I'm going to cover because Navitas is intricately linked to Enphase. I mean, Navitas has plenty of customers, but Enphase is a stock that I follow very closely. And if you listen to the conference call of Enphase that was, released two days ago, you know that Badri, the CEO of Enphase, is all about GaN semiconductors, and we're all very, very excited about what GaN is going to do for their microinverters, allowing them to increase the watt AC power of their microinverters, allowing them to do that inversion, to do that DC to AC inversion in a much more efficient way. And that's what Navitas is all about. Navitas is all about power semiconductors. So that is your chargers, right? That is dealing with the electricity, dealing with the inversion of the electricity from AC to DC or DC to AC, depending on where you are, and doing it much faster, much more efficiently. And this is an example of the switching frequency. This is from a presentation that one of the Enphase engineers made at an event for Navitas. So that's straight from an Enphase engineer here, and you can see, of course, the switching frequency, of course, is what matters, right? For when you try to invert power, and you can see what they use right now. It's silicon based, SiC based systems. They're much more costly, and they don't go as fast for the same amount of cost as GaN systems. In other words, GaN systems are revolutionary when it comes to charging, and GaN stands for Gallium Nitride, and the leader in this next generation charging technology or next generation power semiconductor technology is Navitas, and it is the leader. It's predicted to grow at 77% next 12 months. Gross margin is the best out of the three small cap stocks, but also a lot of people agree that it's the leader, and it's kind of an expensive company trading at 10 times sales, 31 times gross profit, but they have so many different customers. If you see for Enphase, if you read their case study for Enphase, they explain how their GaN operates 10x faster than silicon with significant cost reductions for solar markets. So get ready for the margins of Enphase to increase. Perhaps it is easier for us to understand Navitas's product in the form of more than 200 GaN chargers that they already sell, and a lot of brand new phones, not iPhones, but a lot of brand new phones ship with their next generation chargers. And this is the way to look at this. If you have a GaN charger, so a gallium nitride based charger, it's going to charge your phone 3 times faster, and it's going to be half the size. So 3x faster, half the size and weight. And you can see how it is so relevant if you make microinverters, because that means if you want to unlock, as solar energy gets better, as solar panels get, 700, 800 watts, you're going to have microinverters that are going to be able to handle that thanks to GaN technology. So imagine even the implications of GaN for, say, string inverters. String inverters are dead. Which is kind of a reason why I don't touch SolarEdge. I mean, this is exciting. This is next gen semiconductors. That's also, when you think about a company like Enphase, that's also what most people don't see in Enphase. Most people don't see in Enphase a semiconductor company, but it is in fact a semiconductor company. And if you look, this was their engineer presentation on the website. So, anyways, GaN came back up on the conference call so many times for Enphase, and I listened to their product, and it seems to be a step change in power electronics investing in GaN, and so that's why it's predicted to grow so fast. And out of all of these three stocks, is perhaps the one I find the most compelling, although the valuation, again, pretty high in my view. But they keep being chosen by so many players, and knowing that the revenue may seem small, But if you go and read the presentation of Navitas, you see that whenever there's a charger, for example, for chargers, their chip costs about 80 cents. So they charge about 80 cents. And from what I understand, for microinverters, they may take about $1.50 of revenue per microinverter. So you're really dealing with a small chip out there, and so you got to sell a whole bunch of them, right? You got to become the leader and sell chips absolutely everywhere. But the margin is fairly high at 42% for the hardware world. In the hardware business, that's a pretty good margin if you ask me. Okay, moving on to SkyWater. So SkyWater was recommended again in the comments section. SkyWater is a very interesting positioning. It's a US-based foundry for what I'm going to call big chips, because TSMC, for example, does 3 nanometers chips, 5 nanometer, 7 nanometer. Intel even gets to 7 nanometer. That's not what SkyWater does. SkyWater does big chips, like 90 nanometers. These are big chips today. But they do that. Their differentiation in the market is they focus on IP protection. They pride themselves on only being in 2 foundry locations in the United States, and in the United States alone. And as a result of that, they are able to get a bunch of business, especially from the defense industry. And that's where their DMBA trusted accreditation is all about, protecting the IP and making sure that you don't send your IP to somewhere in Asia and it gets stolen by a company in Asia. You can see how this is so important for, say, the defense industry, but not only. Their IP protection offering is also very important for R&D projects. They have a lot of work in quantum computing, in a superconductor, in the superconductor field. So they partner with DARPA, with a bunch of different agencies and companies and universities that have a strong focus on IP protection. So that's a niche. That's a niche business. Perhaps the least compelling business out of all 3 of them here, because the revenue growth to me at 25%, that doesn't get me really excited, and 23% gross margin. I mean, I get that it's hardware, and of course, hardware, you can't expect software margins, but in the semiconductors, I like to see the margins lean towards a 50% margin. And the lastly is Indie Semiconductors. Indie Semiconductors is a small cap company, a pure play auto business, and this stock hasn't really gone much anywhere since I started covering it. It hasn't crashed, but it hasn't. I think it's trading at $7 now. It was trading at $9. I use EV, so EV fluctuates. Maybe it was 1.3 billion. Now EV is 1.1 billion. This is a company that has grown heavily through acquisition, so you always want to be careful with growth with acquisition because you have all sorts of integration issues. What they do is they provide ADAS systems, autonomous vehicle systems, in-cabin entertainment, as well as electrification. They do things like chips for charging the car. They also have systems like to use your phone to open your car, etc. The problem to me of a company like Indie, of course, is that they supply products to Tesla's competitors. They enable Tesla's competition to compete against Tesla. You can clearly see this car, given the shape of the car. You can clearly see it's the Mercedes, right? It's a Mercedes. They provide supplies to this type of cars. What does that mean? What does that mean when you do that? Well. If you look at the electrification of Tesla competitors, it's been down because Tesla keeps cutting prices and Tesla keeps undercutting everybody. And that was my fear initially looking at this business, was that, how do we know that Tesla's competition is actually gonna make it big and they're actually gonna be able to make a major dent in Tesla's market share? That hasn't proven to be true at all these days. The market share in the US of Tesla is still well into the high 50%, low 60%, depending on where you look. So that's definitely a risky play, but the stock is cheap, and the stock is interesting nonetheless, cheap and interesting, and the revenue growth is very high. But keep in mind, when you grow revenue this fast, a lot of this revenue growth has to do with acquisition, growth by acquisition. They've acquired a lot of companies and then they bring in the revenue under their umbrella. This is a company, I've listened to a few conference calls from them. If you listen to the conference call, you can't help but get the sense that the management has a really strong handle on this business. But again, you gotta be an expert in this business. So my favorite out of the three right now, even if it's the most expensive, would be Navitas, just because of a relationship with Enphase. And I'll conclude with this chart. I'll show you this chart again. What this could do to microinverters in terms of cost and in terms of efficiency. I think that's a very interesting concept. These GaN chargers and fast charging. And last thing is, like, what's the meaning of GaN for EVs? They have an electric vehicle division. What does that mean for the EVs? We know that power electronics are all the rage. They're super important for EVs because key is trying to charge your car as fast as possible. So that's also a very interesting business in my view for that standpoint. Anyways, I hope this spreadsheet was helpful and serves as your first data point in your own research if you're interested in small cap hyper growth stocks. This is no financial advice, no investment advice, just entertainment. Please like, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. Follow me on X and have a wonderful day.